Hello, and welcome to this third session for ArchTalk by the Safe Cultural Heritage Group. My name is Laura. I'm Dr. Laura Castorollo, also known as Plumas sometimes here in the Internet of Things. And I have the pleasure to introduce you to this very first session of this year's ArchTalk. And I'm very excited because, first of all, I'm grateful for Safe Cultural Heritage Group to invite me as a media partner. Me and my project Las Plumas de Simur. It's been an amazing opportunity. I'm looking forward to basically everything that's going to be shared and spoken over today. And I don't come from the archaeology field. I'm actually an art historian. So humble to be here with all these professionals. I'm pretty sure I'm going to learn from a lot. I'm hoping that you guys will enjoy this as much as I already am. Thank you for joining with us. And it is really important that if you like this session, if you like what we are doing here in ArchTalk, please do share the word and get to know, make this opportunity available and known to other people so we can continue doing this, because this is only season 1. So let's hope that we are getting to session, I don't know, the 300, to say something remotely connected to Persian history. So today what we have are 3 speakers that will share with us their perspectives and views on archaeology, with an emphasis on this post-pandemic environment. I don't know if you heard of something that happened in 2020, so that is the environment thing. So has the discipline changed radically, or rather things stayed in quite a similar fashion, or like Tasha said in her keynote speaker, which I particularly loved, did things change and then are going back to what they previously were? We're going to find out with these 3 talks. May I remind the speakers that we have live, because we have one pre-recorded session. May I remind the speakers that we have 10 minutes to deliver this, and if they can adjust to the time, it would be terrific. And for those of you watching at home, we'll have a Q&A at the end of the session. So should you have any questions, make sure to write them down on the chat on YouTube Live or here on Zoom, so we can actually deliver them to the speakers once we are done with the session. So our first talk is, let's begin with our speaker, Tara Panesar. And again, I'm really sorry if I butcher your surname. It was difficult. She's going to speak about archaeology, industry, ethics, and equality. There is a mention to the Mummy franchise in the abstract, therefore I already love it. So what we have, I have Tara's session. Her talk is pre-recorded, so I'm going to share the screen with you. We did an audio and video check before starting, but in case you cannot hear or cannot see what I'm sharing, please do let me know and we'll try to correct it as soon as possible. I'm going to mute myself now, and then I will click on play and we can enjoy Tadasar.
Hi everybody, my name's Tara Panasa and I'm a postgraduate. Hi everybody, my name's Tara Panasa and I'm a postgraduate in Mediterranean Archaeology at UCL. And today I'm going to talk about the ethics of archaeological practice, with a specific focus on archaeology and local communities. Dr. Glenn J. Corbett remarks that archaeologists should not undertake excavation unless there is a clear plan for site management, protection, and publication supported by sufficient financial and specialist resources that meets the needs and requirements of the local management authority. Otherwise, archaeologists should simply leave things where they are, in the ground. Since the rise of archaeology and antiquarianism in 18th and 19th century Europe, various sites, artifacts, and histories have been spoiled, displaced, and appropriated. Examples of this, most within the context of imperialism and colonization, include Henrik Schliemann's excavations at Troy in 1873, the looting of Benin in 1897, and Napoleon Bonaparte's 1798 Egyptian campaign. In all 3 examples, the archaeological practice is unethical, as it capitalized upon and exacerbated pre-existing global inequalities.
Hello, guys. It's me again. I know that the audio is very low, and for some reason, the PowerPoint is not sharing. So I'm going to try to do something different. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share Tara's PowerPoint, and you're going to see that. And I'm going to try and trick my computer into releasing the audio file because I can do just as much. Again, I've mentioned I'm an historian. Please, the IT the IT god or goddess that's on God, please come and assist me. We're going to try that because I don't know why it's not sharing, although I was showing everything on my screen. So while I'm doing this, did you enjoy the first talk? It was so interesting, wasn't it? There we go. Let's see if this will, isolate my computer into thinking that we're sharing two things. Okay. By the way, in case you're wondering, no, this is not as stressful at all. What do you mean by that? Okay. All right. Let's see if I can. It doesn't seem like I do much with the audio file. I'm trying to share the audio with my computer. I'm going to try to restart it again. If you cannot hear her, please feel free to tell me because I really do want you to be able to hear what she's saying. Let's try again. So can you see the PowerPoint now? Could someone confirm that you can see the PowerPoint?
Hi, Laura, we can see the PowerPoint.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Oh my God, the data is speaking to me. I feel blessed. Okay. So now I'm going to try and also let's do this. Can you hear Tara now?
Capitalized upon and exacerbated pre-existing global inequalities. Communities were stripped of their heritage as...
Can you hear her? Oh, Tara, thank you. I'm really sorry I'm butchering your talk. I'm doing as much as I can. All right, so we are ready to go. We're going to start from the beginning because this demands to be listened to from the very beginning. So here we go. Enjoy The Ethics of Archaeological Practice by Tara Aisha Panesar.
Hi everybody, my name's Tara Ishpanasa and I'm a postgraduate in Mediterranean Archaeology at UCL. And today I'm going to talk about the ethics of archaeological practice, with a specific focus on archaeology and local communities. Dr. Glenn J. Corbett remarks that archaeologists should not undertake excavation unless there is a clear plan for site management, protection, and publication supported by sufficient financial and specialist resources that meets the needs and requirements of the local management authority. Otherwise, archaeologists should simply leave things where they are, in the ground. Since the rise of archaeology and antiquarianism in 18th and 19th century Europe, various sites, artifacts and histories have been spoiled, displaced and appropriated. Examples of this, most within the context of imperialism and colonization, include Henrik Schliemann's excavations at Troy in 1873, the looting of Benin in 1897, and Napoleon Bonaparte's 1798 Egyptian campaign. In all three examples, the archaeological practice is unethical, as it capitalized upon and exacerbated pre-existing global inequalities. Communities were stripped of their heritage as ownership over history changed hands, alongside the physical displacement of artifacts. Over the years, the popularization of public archaeology and post-colonial perspectives have encouraged archaeologists not only to critique the practice of the 18th and 19th centuries, but to seek ways in which archaeology can be transformed into an inclusive, self-conscious discipline. This talk will highlight some archaeological projects across the globe in which sustainability and inclusivity within the host country is prioritised, creating an image of what I consider to be ethical archaeology. Before we introduce our case study, it is worth considering that archaeology remains a discipline in which pay, health and safety, and on-site etiquette is often dubious. This was not just a mistake of the past. Dr. Hill's book, Why Those Who Shovel Are Silent, provides insight into the workers' rights at Petra, a Nabatean site located south of Jordan's capital, Amman. Mikkel reveals that the site workers only achieved minimum wage by 2005, that social security and health insurance laws were often dodged for Jordanian workers, and that employees would risk losing their job if they questioned the excavation methodology. Equally, the author explores the concept of lucrative non-knowledge, in which she suggests that local communities are dissuaded from sharing their own knowledge on sites and stratigraphy, as they assume the role of labourer instead of scholar. I believe that this example carries the heavy baggage of imperialism, especially considering the fact that the excavation in question was run by an American and not Jordanian institution. The most rewarding aspect of archaeology, in my opinion, is when wider communities are able to benefit or fairly participate in the discoveries that are made on their soil. Whilst it is true that we cannot always expect every single member of the public to be invested in the historical aspects of the work, what we can do is ensure that we create a space for local communities to contribute, gain, or learn from it if they choose. Let's turn our attention to an organisation, also in Petra, called the Temple of the Winged Lion Cultural Management Research Initiative. I've chosen to highlight the work of this organisation today, as I believe it is an example of the practical measures archaeologists can take to make their practice more ethical. According to NOMA, international tourism receipts made up almost 20% of Jordan's GDP in 2019, and Petra played a large part in this, attracting 1 million visitors in the same year. However, Petra is one of the most poorest communities in Jordan, and the Temple of the Winged Lion initiative works to restructure the practice of archaeology in the area to serve, instead of disregard, the best interests of the community. The site rehabilitation and conservation program has conducted some work. They have removed dumps and rubble piles from the previous excavation, as well as recycling the soil to backfill closed trenches to make the site more visitor friendly. On top of this, they conducted a vegetation study of the area to identify native species to reintroduce to the topsoil, encouraging environmental stability. Also, a strong relationship with the local, mostly Bedouin community is stimulated through the year-round presence of the initiative, but also generated several hundred employment opportunities that were directly involved in the preservation, interpretation, and presentation of the site. Circa 300 individuals have been employed and trained based upon personal interests and previous experience, with 60% of these being women. Finally, in 2017, an Experience Archaeology educational initiative in partnership with Jordan's Ministry of Education was introduced across 8 different schools in Jordan. The program allowed school children to travel to the site to sift and draw artifacts, learn about conservation and pottery, and the wider history of the temple. I would highly recommend visiting the project's website to find out more about what they do, as this list is by no means exhaustive, and there's a lot to see. To me, at the crux of this initiative is keeping historic sites and heritage in the hands of local communities who have a lot to contribute and who ultimately gain the most out of the economic sustainability of the site. Through discussions with Dr. Yamu Hefron, a historian of Anatolia at University College London, about her experiences at the site of Zinchirli, Turkey, it is often hard to implement structural changes in the management of an excavation. She described that she was very keen to employ women at the site, but was initially met with a hard no from the director, who thought it would be rejected by the locals. It was only through a critical labour shortage that she managed to push her initiative through, to great success. We can hope that employment opportunities such as this become more commonly integrated into the sustainability plans of excavations, and not just through circumstance. If anyone is interested, I would recommend a short film titled Living Amid the Ruins by the British Institute at Ankara. It is a series of interviews with the residents of ancient Pisidia, 1 kilometre northeast of Yalvac, who talk about the economic importance of the archaeological sites in the area. It's worth thinking about what can be done at a ground level. Of course, employment, budget and site management falls into the hands of the director of an excavation, and it's largely up to them to appreciate the shifting priorities in archaeological practice. However, making academic texts accessible to a large audience contributes to ethical archaeology. A friend of mine at National Geographic told me that when the organisation is selecting researchers to become National Geographic explorers, they focus on how accessible their research is to the public and how much it interacts with and gives back to its social context. When dealing with ancient history, I think archaeologists should also consider the contemporary impact of their research, such as who will want to read this and how can I cater towards my audience? What is the direction of my research and is it contributing towards an avenue that people can benefit from? I hope this talk has highlighted the importance of pushing archaeology in an ethical direction and has highlighted poor practice that has been conducted in the past, such as examples that we can look towards for the future. I would like to thank the Save Cultural Heritage Group for giving me a platform to talk about this subject and for hosting such a wonderful conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tara. I have like a million questions already. So don't worry, there's not going to be no questions at all because that was fantastic. Apologies if the video was a little bumpy or if the PowerPoint just skipped one of the slides because I could not fix it on time. So that's on me. So thank you so much. Again, may I remind you that if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat box, either on YouTube Live or on this Zoom meeting, wherever you're watching us from. And at the end, we will have a session, a Q&A with speakers. And we are moving to our second speaker, who is Saleh Baisha. Can I please ask you to turn on your video and your audio, please? There we have it.
Yes.
Okay,
audible
brilliant.
now? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can hear you perfectly. So I think that means everyone can as well. So Saleh is going to be sharing his knowledge about the prehistorical archaeological site of Delhi and everything that there is yet to be discovered there and how much potential these archaeological sites have. So it's going to be really enlightening and very instructive. So Saleh, off to you. The floor is yours.
Okay. So I'll try to share my PPT. Actually, screen sharing is disabled from your side.
Okay, so I think I am trying to. I don't know if that's gonna be like me or the creator of the meeting or the Safe Cultural Heritage Group.
It's saying host disabled participant screen sharing.
Okay, I'm not the host of the session, so I think if Hadi can please allow Sarayesh to share his screen, that would be great.
Till then they are doing it. Thank you so much for this and happy International Archaeology Day to everybody.
Happy International Archaeology Day to everybody. Oh yeah, that's right. We didn't say that at the beginning. Okay, so
okay, I'm able to share it now. Is my PPT visible now? Hello?
Yes, I can see it perfectly.
Okay. Okay, is it on full screen now?
Yes, it is on full screen now.
Okay, great. So first of all, thank you so much for inviting me today and for this talk and session. And so I'm myself Shailesh Besla. I'm an archaeologist and I have recently completed my master and looking forward to do a PhD on this very sites soon enough. So I will today talk about whatever I have done in past 2-3 years and it started with pandemic itself. So here we go with it. So just I'll give a little introduction of our site. So there are thousands of prehistoric tools ranging from lower Paleolithic age have been found by stretches of around in and around Delhi, and it takes antiquity and Delhi and its neighboring region several thousand years back. So it is one of the biggest Paleolithic site on Indian subcontinent, and where stone tools were recovered from different paleo channels in different sequence. So paleo channels formed due to shifting of Yamuna river nearby, and which in turn caused due to massive tectonic movements. So I will skip some of it, and because I don't have much time, so I will straight away go to the site. There are two major excavations done here, one in 1991 and 92 by Archaeological Survey of India itself, and one in 2014 by Deccan College. So these are the major works, and I will go into the, so here's the India map, and this is Delhi itself. So these black dots are the sites we have. I am going to the history of these sites. Okay, so these are the places where previously sites are reported or tools are reported, but there's not much work has been done. There's just reported of few tools and something just like that. In 1992, they reported a late Acheulean site completely, but nothing much more than that. So this is my whole study area, and this green part is the place where excavation has been done and recorded, and everybody knows about these sites, Anangpur. Okay, and this place is here excavation is done in 2014, and after that nobody has worked here. So I started my work in this region. I was doing my master's project with some tribals, and so I went there and I found few tools and started working. So this is the region, but it has not been touched by any archaeologists before. It is really dense, and it's a complete jungle. So here we go. So I will start with the geography of this area, and Geological Survey of India has done some survey here in 2002. So what's of our interest here is this yellow part. This is older alluvium plains, and it has been dated to middle to late Pleistocene, like around 2.5 lakh years old at least. And this orange part, if you see, this is the lower to middle Patrozoic. This just makes it one of the oldest places in this whole region. And this gray part is the Aeolian surface. So this sand comes from somewhere and deposited here. And because this was the main reason these artifacts are like preserved in this place. So it's a good thing for us. And my work is done in this region mainly. So here's the topography of this region. This is locality A and locality B. And here's the elevation. If you see, the red part is like the highest points, and the green and the blue, you might understand, it goes low and up. So these are the valley points, and this is the place where I started my work. So I'll start away, go for locality A, and these are the coordinates. Locality A consists of many villages: Dhauj, Mangar, Silakheri, Pali, Mohabtabad, and there are many rock shelters here, tool assemblages there. But there's a thing, locality A is very populated in comparison, and it has been disturbed also because of quartzite mining and everything. And these are the valley where I started my exploration work. Here's few rock shelters. This whole hill has rock shelters all around itself, facing north through south direction. Everywhere there are rock shelters here. Here's a complete view of this site next to Delhi. This is our locality A, and this is locality B. So locality B is a bit interesting because it has not been disturbed yet, and there's human occupation is little, and it is huge also. So it's a bit away from human population and occupation. Nothing is there, so it's a good thing for. So that's like my more focus on the locality B. And these are the villages: Gantes, Kots, Rohit, Damdama, Lalakiri, Harchanpur, and Roj Ka Gujar. So we will jump into the localities B's another site. So on locality B, surprisingly, when I was exploring the hill, I found this settlement which was spread across the hill and both the sides. If it is visible, you try to see there is a proper town planning, and there's no architecture, but there is a town planning. They know what they are doing. They were pretty advanced people. And here's the like overview from like surface. So they have made blocks, quartzite blocks, and they have made houses. Their roof are not right now because it might be of some decomposable material like wood or something like that, and it's gone with time. So it is iron smelting settlement here. So when we go into this, I found these things here. Some potteries, there is a molten iron, some pottery, and it is visible, it's black to gray. So, and there are slags and molten iron remains, everything is there. Some beads are also found. Here's a furnace on this site. And these things are surprisingly new because I was around 30 kilometers from national capital, and finding an iron settlement, it's amazing. So, but side B has not a hand here. So I will start. The most interesting part of this side B and A are these petroglyphs. These are cup marks, simple cup marks found almost all continents except Antarctica. But this is the first time these things are found or reported around Delhi NCR region. So this is great. And these cup marks in itself are like the oldest form of art ever made by human beings. And they are spread all over the place, all valley and everywhere. Some proto form of cones are also there. These are not petroglyphs. These things are used for grinding seeds and something like that for food purposes. This is not art, but they have like done extensively used this whole region. Then if we move forward to the time, there is a complexity in art also in this region. These petroglyphs are made with different technology. There is a clear difference between cup marks and these are not that depth, but they are more complex. Like there is a fish, there is a paw, like it's a big cat paw, and there is a hand figures. Some figures are missing their fingers, and these things are really phenomenal, and these are more complex. And this site have a continuation of art from prehistoric to probably these things are made by those people where that iron smelting settlement I have recorded. Probably these things are done by them, but still these are still around 4,000 to 5,000 years old. Then this is something surprising because these animal paws are made with cup marks. Those cup marks are much older. These things are cup marks, and they share the similar kind of a technique or technology, and the depth are equally similar. Then these are different. These are not that depthful, and just the upper patina of the stone is removed for making these. There's a one footprint of human, probably human only, but it's really huge, 20 centimeter. One of the boulder has a cat paw, and it is portable and not even homogeneous in nature. So there's a lot of things I have recorded in past 2 years here. If you see this one, I called it gallery because this whole slab has art on it everywhere. And there's a thing about this art. There's a pattern, settlement pattern. These things are near to all the corners of valley. You roam around on the valley corner, you will encounter rock out in this whole region. That's a surprising thing. And I have recorded around 600 cup marks here. So next thing we have now we have seen the site, geography and rock art. Now come the tools part. Who are they and what are they making? These things can only be said by the tools. So both the localities have a cultural sequence from lower Paleolithic to upper Paleolithic or late Paleolithic, whatever you like to say it. But what makes it really good, it's in textbook form. There is a continuation here, lower, then middle, then upper Paleolithic. It goes on, and then Iron Age, and then early historical fort. So these are the tools, and as you can see, there have variety of quartzite here: orange, gray, red. These gray ones are the strongest one. So I will jump more into these tools and technology in next slide. And these are available on both sides. It's not like a site A has something or B. It's continuation. Site A is more disturbed. Site B is less disturbed. Just that. So these are lower Paleolithic tools and all kind of tools. In this first one, there's development of hand axe we can see here. This is a simple hand axe made with the block and block technique. Then there is a unifacial, then bifacial hand axe, then a frayed hand axe. Then these two are diminutive hand axe, small ones. And here's some measurements I have given, so you might like to compare it with other ones. These tools, these small pebble-like tools, these 6 tools you are seeing, these are the most significant thing here, because these belong to mode 1 technology, and this technology is one of the earliest technology invented by humans, our hominin ancestors, to make tools. These tools are the first tools, and these just change the whole concept of human evolution and origin on this region. And then there are some other tools like scraper, tangent hand axe, cleavers, and everything. These tools are all lower Paleolithic and spread across the hill ranges. Then I'll jump into some later periods like middle and upper or late Paleolithic, whatever you call it. There's like discoidals, then there's a knife, blades, then scraper continued again, and various types of small tools, borers, burins, and these are microliths found here. And these microliths are really good because they are geometrical also. So this just make this site really wonderful, how they were like technologically advanced and making geometrical microliths, and nobody has recorded it ever since till now. So there is a lot of hope on more work to be done in this region. So yeah, besides tools, these are a few special things I like to talk about, like these middle Paleolithic cleaver like blades or whatever you like to call. This is a different technology, and not much we have. This technology is not much recorded in this whole region, but as you can see, these tools follow a pattern, like they were made such a expert maker. Both of them are different in size but share exact same wood typology. And there is a hand axe which has been heated from this side. It needs to be tested. Is it seriously heated, or is it accidentally heated at later periods because of forest fire or something like that? If it is found to be heated at in Paleolithic period, so it might push back the date of fire invention or something like that in India. There are a lot of interesting things to be come up in future. Then they are experimenting with the stones tools. So this is something this just makes me confused why they make it like that. It is really easy to hold it, and they were doing something different things. These are not normal toolkit of tools you found at every place, like hand axes, cleavers, scrapers. These are things are common, and you across the place you found it, but this is something different. This is something experimental thing they have done here, and a lot of work I might do on it in future. So next things come the rock shelters. So rock shelters are also at everywhere on the corners of valley. They are natural shelters. These are not like caves or something way deeper. These are just small shelters made naturally because of tectonic movements of quartzite hill, and they found their shelter and from like carnivores animals, and to save themselves from weather, something like that, and just for that, so they used it. And these rock shelters are everywhere. So this is me inside one of the rock shelter. This is the rock shelter I'm in, and this one is really huge. Outside those rock shelters, there's a tool making workshop. Some like exact in position, these tools are leftovers of them, like they were like making and napping tools, and it was left like this, and it's still there, and you can go and visit these things. It's really interesting and surprising and cool to view all this. I went into one of the crack inside a rock shelter, and here I found some tools, but it was not more accessible, so I came out. But this soil and these tools, this is really important. We have a thing in India, like we don't have much hominins bones and fossils, but with latest technology, something like that, we can extract DNA from this soils, and we can know what kind of a species they are, like absolute data, absolute dating, something relative, not relative, I'm taking geological survey of India's dates. Instead, we can have relative, not absolute dates with this, and a hominid species who were living here. So there's a lot of things will be coming up in future on this site. So for a summary, I will give this yellow circle is the locality I was talking about, the disturbed one. This red circle is the one where iron smelting settlements, rock shelters, and everything is in continuation. Then this bigger circle is the one I like to do in PhD. cover in my PhD. So it was a future work, and there's a lot of things will be coming up in future. If this small area has this much potential, this whole area will change everything about Indian prehistory. There's a lot of work to be done. So here are the few references regarding my work. Some of these are my own paper. And thank you so much. If you have any question, you can ask me.
Thank you so much. That was so interesting. Oh my God, it's so informative. As someone that knows very little about these topics, I am enjoying it so much. So, all right. So unfortunately, we're not gonna be able to have Humphrey's talk. So we are going to move to the Q&A session now. So. Okay. Listeners at home, and also I, as a moderator, have the privilege to maybe ask 1 or 2 questions because I have many noted down. And the moment you showed the animals, it was like, aha, that is my job. I'm going to ask a little things about that. Also have some questions for Tara. Tara, are you there? Are you here with us? Could you just please turn your video and camera on, please?
Yeah.
Hello, very happy. Nice to meet you.
Hi, hello, nice to meet you too.
Hello.
Okay, so we had these beautiful 2 talks that taught us so much, and I really like the approach that you both given. First, from a first-hand perspective on researching an area that has been kind of abandoned for a very long while, as Salaish was doing, and then you, Tara, speaking about how fairness is not always been a thing in the archaeological world, especially if we have a look at the past and like not so much in the past, because sometimes when we tend to talk about history, we think, that was such a 18th century thing, which first of all is not that long ago. And second, sometimes we are so little informed about how the archaeology world works and is that we don't know things as such. It's something, again, forgive me for my ignorance, but I guess so if anyone has, I see we have a question. And it says, thank you for this. I'm really happy to see not the only one enjoy your talk because they were amazing with them. I was in Delhi a few months ago. Can you share the presentations for further reading? And is your site available for public viewing with a guide? Salish, that question is for you.
I will share my paper on it. It's on Academia. It's open journal, so you can read and about it. And there are various papers and videos on site. And you can visit site, but I will warn you, don't go alone. Go with someone, go with some local people, go with someone you know. These places are dangerous. Just to make this chat wind up in 10 minutes, so I just make it shorter, but there are limitations of site, there are dangers of site. So there are many other parts. A whole session can be made on those things. So you can go there, it is available. You can go anytime, just take all the necessary precaution, nothing like that. And I will share my article or something. No problem.
Thank you. And I'm going to take advantage of my position, privilege here. And I have a question for Tara, because when I read your article and the abstract, it was for me so interesting when you mentioned that many of the archaeological information we have comes from films and the public media industry, and you mentioned the mummy and such, and I felt a tad guilty because I thought, that's entirely me. That's I know what an archaeological finding is, but because I've watched amazing Rachel Weisz in The Mummy, so I wanted to ask you how this question could draw into a million, so please feel free to just cut it and share with you as you think suitable. How do you think, and how and why do you think this big gap of information is between what actually is archaeological practice and what we see portrayed in media? And how do you think, if there is a way of making that gap a little bit smaller and bringing, because you mentioned also that in this project they were making the content accessible to general public, which I'm all up for. I love that part. So if you could expand a little bit more, maybe a tiny comparison and then explaining how it would be more accurate without being a documentary, to share those films and series, that would be amazing.
Well, I think it's interesting to look at where the idea of this kind of romantic notion, 18th and 19th centuries, a lot of aristocratic men and women would go on a grand tour of a lot of different countries and would visit archaeological sites. I especially know that it happened a lot in Turkey and in relation to Austria as well, where a lot of people would go on their own kind of like personally organized expeditions, and they'd take a lot of photographs and it would be all over the media. And also it was happening at the same time in Egypt with the advent of Egyptomania, with the invasion of Napoleon Bonaparte, who brought a lot of scientists. And I mean, it's quite anachronistic to say archaeologists at that point, because it hadn't really been formed as a discipline yet. But these people that would travel to countries with fantastic archaeological sites, the way they'd represent it to their home countries was a very idealistic, orientalizing and romantic way. And, you know, anyone, I think a large portion of people that are now studying archaeology now were inspired by films like Indiana Jones and by, you know, The Mummy Returns. These like kind of heroic character. I think that that's a very normal thing to happen, especially when you're a young child and you're watching these films. But as you kind of watch them, you grow up, and especially from a post-colonial point of view, the characters that Brendan Fraser played, for example, in The Mummy, is very much based on this this aristocratic grand tour figure. And still now, I think that there's a certain aesthetic of archaeology that all of us might be guilty of playing into, which I think forgets about the kind of wider workforce that is necessary to do an excavation. So there's a fantastic book that I put on the presentation. I'll just quickly, it's on my bookshelf, I can see it. It's Hidden Hands by Stephen Quirk, and he's a professor here at UCL, and he teaches hieroglyphs. But what this book really does is goes through Flinders Petrie's journals of excavating in Egypt, and it documents all of the names that never made it to the public eye. So I'd really recommend this book. That's the title there, Hidden Hands. It's absolutely fantastic. And it's demystifying this idea that an archaeological excavation is made from one person going out and discovering all of this by himself in this very romantic and mysterious way. In reality, it takes, but it's definitely an idea that we all have growing up. But in reality, and what this book shows, is that it takes hundreds and hundreds of people behind every single excavation. It takes communities. And, you know, a part of my presentation was trying to take a closer look at how these communities actually relate to the sites, and how this hasn't been done very well in the past, especially with European and North American excavations, but also how, you know, we can avoid kind of hiding these people again that are a massive part of every dig. So I hope that kind of answered the question. I see that there's another question.
It did, definitely. And I really like, you mentioned the grand tour thing. Do you know where a grand tour destination was for so long? Spain. Because it was so exotic, and we are still exotic to the eyes of many, because we had like that in the Iberian Peninsula, there was this Muslim presence for 800 years, and then when the people like Washington Irving stayed in the Alhambra from Granada, and you see these from the perspective. And I really like what you said about the local communities, because sometimes when you see, even like not in films, which is what I think is worrying, because at least, you know, a film has this cool this pattern of like, it's fiction, but then sometimes you see it, how archaeological missions and local communities are not connected whatsoever. It's like they're independent from each other, which is something that should not be, because it's part of where these people are living and they're based on. And yes, there's a question for you. How can we better involve the local communities in archaeological activities in the context of low budget projects? That's a very good question.
It's a very good question, because obviously a lot of the time new initiatives, especially like economic initiatives, when you're trying to look at kind of increasing wages for people, it's something that's a lot to do with like the infrastructure, and you really would have to speak to someone quite high up in the excavation to make a structural change like that. So that's obviously something that's a little bit harder to push, but I'd say that personal initiative is the most important thing you can do, because if you are part of an excavation and you think that there is opportunity, so I gave the example of Yama Heffron, who's a professor at UCL as well. She saw, so I believe that the Zinchili expedition was an excavation that was funded by the government, so it's not necessarily a low budget excavation. But what they did alongside pushing for the local women to be employed is thinking of like local educational initiatives, and how can we involve schools, and how can we, you know, even something like inviting children to a site to draw the objects or something. It's free, it's completely free, and usually a school would fund this kind of trip if you offer your services. So it just takes a bit of personal initiative, brainstorming, also just kind of thinking that, okay, I'm in a position where I'm learning about this site, I have a lot of knowledge about it, how can I, you know, involve other people in this? And sharing knowledge usually is free, so that's a great place to start, is just by inviting other people to come and listen to you talk about the site if you want to, you know, not gatekeeping it. I think that's a great way of opening it up to local community. Yeah.
That is fantastic. I mean, everything that is regarded to like, you know, sharing with the general public, it's something I think we should pay more attention to. Again, we have this word in Spanish. My whole talk is based on that word, which is called divulgación. That's like sharing the knowledge to like a more general public. And I just really love that. So that I really like the idea of having children and excavations. It's just like I just can't see it as a reality. It's like it's feasible, as you say. It's not just fantastic. It's like, you know, under supervision and with like proper organization, and it does not imply a lot of budget to just bring a class to see an archaeological site.
If a site like the Temple of the Winged Lions at Petra, it's already had a lot of work done to it where it's been made safe for visitors. So if you already have a site that is open to tourists, if you can organize like groups to visit, you're halfway there, because you don't have to kind of, you know, do any like deep structural change to the site. It's just about giving, or kind of like opening the opportunity for people to come and have like specialized talks, or so it's easier than you think, I argue.
Yeah, we used to put our brains into work in that. We have another question to Salaish. How do you define the transition of fieldwork activities from pre-pandemic and post-pandemic time in terms of survey tools and dissemination of your research? Shailesh, are you there?
Yeah,
There you are.
yes,
There you are.
Okay. So like if I talk about just particular my research, so this area and this is just nobody was ready to work here, and because of pandemic and lockdown I started working here. So it was an independent research done by me alone, not even a university involvement, not even any government organization involvement. So I have done everything independently and surveyed myself independently. There is no funding, nothing. So it was more like motivated by passion. and less of a like a duties kind of a work. So it was like my independent work. I have done everything myself. So I can't say what is the difference, but yeah, I will say that pandemic is the reason all of these things has been done. And last year it was like big news. Whole nation was everything, and there are many articles and everything. So it's great. I will thank pandemic for this whole work.
I think it's a very nice thing that we can, draw something positive from the pandemic, because mostly the discourse is focused on, everything was so difficult and hard on us. Actually, sometimes it was good for some things. And I have a question for you, because this draws out from my personal interest, because I saw you showed the petroglyphs and you mentioned that there's paws in there, like animal paws. And I wanted to ask you, do you know, or can you estimate what animal those paws belong to, and why would those animals be of importance to be represented there?
Yeah. So like those paws, those are definitely of cat, big cat, and no other animal, not dog, not wolf, nothing, just a cat. Someone from cat family. And why they are there, how I know, because there are still leopards live in this jungle, and I have seen leopards footprint in the sand, and it was imprinted on the sand. It was exactly similar with that one. So that's how I like what I say, revealed or something. Mystery was solved with that. And what was your question?
No, why is the
they
leopard important? I really like it's just, we haven't changed so much. People just put shows of their cats in there. I love it. I really love it. So why do you think that would be an important animal and not any other among them? And again, I understand that this is my own interest in animals and animal representations for history. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
So see, except for animals, like except for human figures, there is fish, and then there are endless animal paws, especially big cat paws. So there should be something why it is there. So my own, at preliminary stage, there is one hypothesis, because those big cats are at the top of food chain. So they were kind of worshipping them, something like we always follow someone who is stronger than us, something who is above us. So probably, and I have seen like leopards sitting on those corners of valley, and exactly where those petroglyphs are situated. So I believe sometime way back, thousands of years back, they might have seen those things. And then like one time I was walking in the morning, and I have seen big animal leopard paw imprint on a sand. So they have seen it, and they like engraved it on quartzites. And this is not a joke. Quartzite engraving is one of the hardest stones on earth. It's like granite and quartzite are the hardest stones. So they are doing it. There should be some reason. And I don't want to say like how all archaeologists put everything, it should be a religious purpose. So let's not say it. It's not a religious purpose. Maybe they were showing respect towards the animal. Maybe those are like hierarchy above us, something like that.
Yeah, I that made me laugh, because there is a joke among the Hispanic archaeological community saying that if you don't know what this is, it's the ritualistic. It's a ritual. So it's ritualistic. So I'm going to turn into the chat for a minute. You watching us at home or from wherever actually you're watching us, do you have any more questions for our speakers? Or maybe because we can continue for like, I can continue asking you questions for like an eternity. And so is there any more questions from you, our viewers, towards us? And by us, I mean this. I don't know if they are like at my side in the screen, but I am like flanked by these two brilliant speakers. And is there any more questions that you would like to ask them? Going to give them time to think, because they appear to be a little bit shyer. And also I have another question for Tara. I have like a million listed in here, so I can continue until the day is gone. So Tara, I have a question for you. And you emphasize how I'm pretty sure I'm not going to say it properly, the Temple of the Winged Lions there.
Yeah, no, you got it.
Yeah. So the Temple of the Winged Lions is making an effort to employ, you mentioned they're employing people that they come to them with a little bit of like previous background and work already done. And you mentioned that 60% of them are women. And then you also mentioned how they involve in local communities into these archaeological sites in Petra. Do you know of any other excavation archaeological making this effort into involving local communities? Is it something that is done very recently, or is it something that started quite in the past? It's like this initiative. Is it something that happens? And maybe this is an obvious response, but I don't know. So I want to know if this is like a thing lately, like in Tennessee.
I think lately there's been a lot more scholarship around how it should be done, but I think that the progression from like excluding to including local communities across the globe in archaeology hasn't been linear. I think it's very much been down to the individual who's leading the excavation. But for example, I know another site that very much involves their local community is ancient Messene in Peloponnese in Greece. It's a dig that I went on myself this summer, and it's with Professor Themelis, who's been working on the site for, oh my gosh, over 30 years. And I think one of the things that I realized, because I was a bit cautious about going like before, I was like, okay, I don't want to feel like we're just kind of doing a very like separated piece of work that's not actually going to be kind of integrated into the overall dig. I don't know if it's quite like a performative couple of weeks for just the students that, you know, have applied to be on this dig. I wanted it to be very much, we're continuing the work that they're doing. But I noticed that in Mavramati, which is the town where the ancient Messenian site is, that pretty much everyone in the community personally knows the director of the site. And, you know, there was just such a great feeling of friendship between the local community and the director. And it's something that was like encouraged in the students that went on the field school as well. It's like, you know, we have this amazing like bar up here, or you should go and talk to these people, and you should, you know, speak to this person, they know so much about archaeological drawing and etc. So, you know, it was so lovely because you felt like you were you felt like you were kind of being invited into that community, instead of just like completely like assuming this place and being like, okay, I'm here now. And yeah, so it was wonderful. And I think, you know, props goes to Professor Themelis for creating an environment like that. And it just really, yeah, it was quite inspiring to see. But yeah, so that's an example of another one. And I think that there's definitely still a long way to go, but it's very much down to the individual team that's behind the excavation.
So thank you so much. I really hope that this is a path we started walking and we continue to walk, and more people get joined into that. So thank you everyone who attended this very first session of post-pandemic archaeology. Now what we're going to do is we're going to continue with session 2 on over another Zoom link. If you sign up for that, you will have a link in your email possibly with a confirmation. And thank you so much to Tara and Charlotte for sharing your talks with us. They were very inspiring and very interesting, and I'm pretty sure everyone's enjoyed them as much as I have personally. So yeah, we will see each other at session 2. So I'm gonna close this one now, and we're gonna move into the next one. Thank you so much again, and yeah, it's happy Archaeology Day to everyone.
Thank you.